Hello, my name is Hugh Grennan. I'm a senior from Morristown, New Jersey, studying materials science and engineering. I'm active on Purdue's campus, and I currently serve as the president of Purdue's chapter of Material Advantage, where I help my fellow students learn more about materials through outreach activities and networking. For the last 2 years, I've been applying my materials knowledge by participating in undergraduate research with MSc professor Chelsea Davis, and I've recently started the BS-MS program, working with Professor Barr on the deformation of energetic materials. Outside of materials engineering, I sing with Purdue Varsity Glee Club and the St. Thomas Aquinas Music Ministry, dance with the Irish Dance Club, and train with the Purdue Triathlon Club. I aim to be a positive leader, contributing to the culture of greatness that is cultivated here at Purdue. I also hope to use my network and experiences from Purdue to leap into a fulfilling career in the future, and I plan to graduate from Purdue with a master's degree in materials engineering by 2023. I am pleased to introduce Mr. Glenn Teuber, who is being honored as an Outstanding Materials Engineer honoree. Mr. Teuber's exemplary knowledge in product strategy, customer care, marketing, financial planning, and business development truly makes him a leader in business growth and designing optimization processes, exemplifying the breadth of industries that are impacted by our materials engineering alumni. Currently, Mr. Teuber serves as the Chief Operating Officer for Google Fi, a division of Alphabet, Incorporated, a multinational conglomerate of Google and several other companies. He joined the Google Fi product prior to its public release and is one of a few members of the team that has been guiding the product from launch to its current position within the competitive cellular market. Early in his tenure on the product, he established the strategy and operations job function and all core operating structures before being elevated to the COO role. During his tenure as COO, Google Fi has doubled in size to over 250 employees, and its annual revenue has more than tripled while serving millions of consumers in the United States. In this capacity, Mr. Teuber secured funding from Google and Alphabet for a new multi-year business plan that has established Google Fi as a leading option for communication across the nation. He has steered the development of all go-to-market, financial technology, and fraud and abuse functionality of the product. This has resulted in a dramatic reduction in customer acquisition costs and a user retention rate in excess of 99%, all while saving the company and users tens of millions of dollars annually in fraud prevention. In recognition of his leadership in developing and growing products from hardware to connectivity services, which enables improved access and communication around the globe, the School of Materials Engineering is proud to name Glenn Teuber as one of Purdue's outstanding materials engineers.
Hello, I'm honored to be receiving this Outstanding Materials Engineer Award. I have to say, I was very surprised to be selected for this award as I'm no longer a practicing engineer. But I promise I used to be, and I still work closely with engineers most days as the COO of Google Fi, which is a wireless telecommunications carrier. Going back in time to when I was young and thinking about college, I would never have thought to be in this position today. In those days, I was lucky enough to be a golf caddy to many C-suite executives, and those executives guided me towards engineering. I only looked at Big Ten schools, but Purdue always had a bit of a leg up. First off, my mom loved the campus and the experiences we had during our first visit. For her, it was a done deal on that trip. Second, my dad's brother graduated from Purdue in the 50s with a degree in aerospace engineering. He was the only one to get a college degree amongst all four brothers. My dad always said my uncle received a fantastic education, and it was the reason for my uncle's success. Lastly, since I was focused on being an engineer, it made sense to go to one of the best engineering schools in the country. Everything really aligned for me to attend Purdue, so it was an easy decision. The best part of my time in materials engineering is it gave me the opportunity to push myself to go after uncomfortable opportunities. When I took the electrical, optical, and magnetic properties class, I wrote off semiconductors, as it seemed so complex and I did not get it. But the opportunity to be an intern at Intel came up, and that was a big deal back in the 90s. Even though I was apprehensive of semiconductors and I had to move halfway across the country, I jumped at the opportunity, creating the foundation for where I am today, all because I got comfortable with being uncomfortable and taking risks. Before arriving at Google, I worked at IBM Microelectronics, where I ramped a factory from nothing to full production, and I led a sector of the factory on yield and productivity plans, as well as introduced the 90 and 65 nanometer technology nodes into production. From there, I got my MBA and did consulting work with retailers at a small firm in Boston. I then took a giant leap and moved across the country to California for a job at Google. During my early years at Google, I worked with some of the most senior executives at the company, helping them understand and improve how the company was spending money. I then moved into more operational roles where I had to learn global banking standards so we could pay suppliers in over 100 countries more efficiently. When Google bought Motorola Mobility, I became the head of global procurement operations for that organization, where I focused on improving culture, business processes, and compliance for all purchasing at the company. I then took a short stint at the Google online hardware store. While at the store, I helped Google Fi get to market by leading system integrations. Shortly after the launch of Google Fi, I was asked to join the team full-time, focused on planning and go-to-market strategy. I guided the team on these efforts in the early years, helping the business grow. But as the business grew and became more complex, so did my responsibilities. Our product team quickly learned that I was very good at running operations. So as they built more features, they would hand them off to me and I would run them. They would also seek my input on how the features should be built so they would thrive after launch. This allowed me to start building a team from the ground up that covered areas from planning and core operations to strategy and analytics. Also, during this time, my boss took on a new role elsewhere at Google, allowing me to step into the COO role. This gave me the responsibilities that reached across all functions. I successfully led the team from the initial launch and turned it into a thriving business that Google looks to as a shining example of customer loyalty and is the most profitable subscription business for the company. You were probably wondering why I told you this whole story, but you had to hear it in order to understand what Purdue really taught while I was in school. Purdue taught me how to think and problem solve, regardless of the situation. I have worked in many industrial sectors and held roles in multiple functions, but I've always been able to succeed. I go back to the fundamentals of what Purdue engineering taught me. What is the problem? What do I know or have? And where do I want to be? Solve for the path. I also do it in a way that is focused on the community, pulling in my peers around me, which is a value that Purdue instills upon students. You can't be successful unless the entire community is successful. To recap, Purdue taught and provided me the opportunity to learn three critical things: being comfortable with uncomfortable situations, how to think critically and problem solve, regardless of the task at hand, work as a community to achieve the best success. All of this is going to tie into my final thought of my fondest memory of Purdue. Oddly enough, the thing that always sticks out in my head when I think back are all the times working with my fellow students on really hard problems. We would gather in computer labs, the library, the union, or anywhere that made sense to figure out how to get through our homework or be prepared for the next exam. I know this seems rather cliche, but isn't that really what engineering life at Purdue is all about? Thanks again. I'm very honored to be recognized with this award, and boiler up.